What's the solution you're providing your clients?
So we provide our clients mainly manufacturers and trades organizations in education as a benefits platform. So they can provide education and training to upskill their existing and provide training to prospective employees. Really all centered around being able to access untapped talent.
And what are some of the pain points you're hearing from them?
Yeah, so the biggest pain point would be just not enough applicants, not enough candidates coming into their pipeline through traditional pipelines. So we try to create that third pipeline for them.
And who are the people that so you've got the employer side, but then you also have these students or this age group of people that you're trying to help out and help them flourish. What age group is that group that you're trying to get them this information so that you can upskill them?
So it's about 18 to 26-year-olds is really our target demographic. People who either dropped out or never attended college in the first place. And so then we provide that alternative path.
And you and I had a great discussion earlier this week about manufacturing and in upskilling them. How can you give me maybe an example of how your software and how your solution can help that segment of the industry out?
Yeah. So our platform is a free education platform for anybody looking for a job in, let's say, welding or CNC. So we use community partners is what we call them. So nonprofits, high schools, to recruit individuals to come onto our platform, learn everything they need to know about welding. And then we provide 3D and VR, what we call it hands-on in quotations training to complete, to get certified through registered apprenticeship programs, and then help place them with a local manufacturer.
What got you into this? Like what got you so excited about solving this problem?
Well, my own frustrations and my own education experience. I didn't want to go to college, but ended up doing it anyway. I did get a scholarship, but it just didn't fit right with me. I felt that there was a much more effective and efficient path to do this. And then I went down this workforce development path, really realized how much the cost of education was a barrier to getting certain demographics and population the skills they need to earn a high-paying job and really start a career versus our typical entry-level jobs. And this wasn't just a problem with employers. It was a two-sided problem. And so we needed to find what that bridge was to connect these individuals. And just frankly, to me, it's just a stupid problem that shouldn't exist in the world. And I just needed to solve it. So I've been doing this for the past close to 3 years at this point.
The other thing that I always think about is like, what does it look like to win? So, I've built software, you're building software. You and I've had a number of conversations. What is it on your end? It looks like there's two wins: the manufacturer or the welding company, or they win, but then you also, the person that's going through your training also wins. Do you have a success story, or do you have something in place right now where you can see that developing, and how does that make you feel when you see it actually come together like that?
Yeah, it's definitely pretty rewarding to see people's success, and really a win for us is being able to see someone's wage increase from before starting working with us to after. So for instance, we have a woman who just finished, and so our programs are they're a year long, but they're earning and learning, so they're working while they're doing this. And so at the start of her program, she was earning, I believe, $13 an hour, and so she just graduated. Now she's at $17 an hour, and so she's in the retail space, but where we do have a couple individuals right now in a welding program, they're starting at $15 an hour, and by the end of the year, they'll be earning 22. So that's a big difference. That's going from $30,000 to $45,000 in a period of a year without going into debt. And so that's a big win for us from the personnel perspective, but then also looking at the value add for an employer, someone who's earning $30,000 a year as a general laborer or an assembler, they're not adding that value add to the business as much as their welders and fabricators. That's their highest ROI per employee. And so that also helps on the employer side as well. So that's really how we look at it from a win. Is the person more valuable to the employer? And is that individual earning a significant, we like to look at 30% as the kind of the baseline. Is it a 30% increase or more?
That's fantastic. And I had talked to you recently about a CNC shop that I'm aware of that says that they're turning down $2 to $3 million a year worth of work because they just don't have the labor.
Yeah.
And so if you're supplying them with quality employers or employees, they win. And then, like you said, the wage increase on the end of the student or the learner going into the workforce is also increasing. So it is a win-win situation for sure.
Yeah.
There's something else that just popped in my mind that I wanted to ask you. Okay, so when you've described your software, and I want to sort of highlight what it is, you're not just using the software. So you have these training modules. They go through the training modules, but that helps them through like step one. Like that's the first step. But then the second step is they get introduced into some form of job or some sort of job training or some job shadowing. Can you talk a little bit about how it goes from, learning online, learning through your software, and then transitioning and then actually starting to work? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we like to think about it as like the first step is like an 8-week certification. So they spend the first 8 weeks with us going through an online trainings, for instance, which can use welding. So they're going to learn everything that they need to know about welding in the theory aspect. And then once they pass that, then they're going to go through that hands-on and quotations portion. And then at that point, when they're competent to pass a welding exam for an employer, doing a T-weld or paddings, beads, whatever their test may be, that's when we start placing them with an employer. Once they're placed with the employer, they continue to learn the theory, but then they also go through some structured on-the-job training that's competency-based that the employer can monitor. So we stay with the individual through the whole process. So for that first, let's say 8 to 10 weeks of training, and then the placement, and then we provide the on-the-job training support to the employer to facilitate to their new employees.
And so you're taking the burden off of these manufacturing companies or you're off of the industry for the theory part. Your program or your software and your solution is prepping them so that when they go in, they're ready to maybe stand next to somebody that can help them along and put that theory to practice.
Correct.
Okay. It's a, like you and I have been on a number of calls. There's a huge need for that upskilling, and it's super exciting that you found a solution to help out the industry. Because you showed me this one time, or you showed this graphic of the pipeline, and can you just sort of walk me through a little bit of that graphic, how some people go through the 4-year part, the 4-year degree, and then on the bottom side of that pipeline, what was the bottom part?
Yeah.
Can you sort of walk me through a little bit of that diagram?
Yeah, so the diagram starts looking at K through 12. So we've got about 3.7 million people who graduate K through 12 a year. About 66% of those individuals split up between about 40 and 26%. So 40% go to a 4-year college, 26% go to a 2-year university, And that 34% of the 3.7 don't go anywhere. So they go right into the workforce. But really the kicker is 40% of all college students across the board drop out of college. And so that adds to this really exponentially growing pool of undegreed or uncredentialed talent, which is a big problem, not only for that pool of talent for their earning potential, but also in order for an employer to access that pool of talent. And so then in this graphic, we're then that bridge that connects the untapped pool of talent to the employers.
It'd be very interesting. You mentioned 40% of them drop out. It'd be very interesting to know more about why they dropped out. My assumptions are, because I was an educator for over 20 years, is that they thought they just had to go to college. They didn't know what they were actually going to go do. And so it sounds like your service and your software can prevent some of that from happening. It can get them on a pathway much quicker. What is the youngest, your youngest client? I remember you said like 16, I think you said 16 to 20, what was it? 16?
So we focus on right now, our focus is 18 to 26-year-olds, just because of labor laws. But the earliest person we've had in a program was 16.
Okay. Well, again, Christian, I really appreciate you, taking a few minutes out of your day today